The CEO offered the nanny help with her visa, but only if she stayed quiet about what she saw. Camila Rivera, 20, a bright and graceful Mexican immigrant, arrives in Scottsdale to work as a live-in nanny for a powerful CEO's family. With soft brown eyes, long dark hair, and a calm presence, she quickly becomes a steady figure in the lives of the children and a silent observer of the household's hidden fractures. Everything seems normal on the surface. The house is spotless. The wife is distant. The CEO, Thomas Whitmore, is charming, too charming. Camila doesn't ask questions. Until one night, she sees something she was never meant to see. The next morning, Thomas approaches her with a smile and an offer: help with her immigration process, legal protection, even financial support. All she has to do is forget what she saw. Now caught between fear and conscience, Camila is forced to make a decision no one should face. Her silence could buy her safety, but her voice might save someone else. As the pressure builds and the lies around her grow thicker, Camila must find the courage to stand her ground, even if it means risking everything she's worked. If stories of courage, power, and truth inspire you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our growing community for more emotional and eye-opening narratives every day. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1, The Glass House. The Arizona sun beat down relentlessly on the sprawling estate nestled in the exclusive North Scottsdale neighborhood. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the McDowell Mountains loomed in the distance, their rugged silhouettes a stark contrast to the sleek, contemporary lines of the Whitmore residence. Camila Rivera stood at the kitchen island, chopping vegetables for the children's lunch, the knife's rhythmic tap-tap-tap against the cutting board punctuating the otherwise perfect silence of the house. At 20, Camila was younger than most live-in nannies, but her quiet maturity and natural way with children had impressed Mrs. Whitmore during the interview. Or perhaps it had been Mr. Whitmore who'd made the final decision. Thomas Whitmore, CEO of Apex Innovations, whose piercing blue eyes seemed to evaluate everything as an asset or liability. Miss Camila! 5-year-old Lily burst into the kitchen, her blonde pigtails bouncing. Can we have lunch by the pool today? Daddy said maybe if you said it was okay. Camila tucked a strand of her long dark hair behind her ear, smiling at the little girl. If your father said it's okay, then yes, we can eat by the pool. But remember, no running, no splashing, no screaming, Lily recited, rolling her eyes dramatically. I know the rules. Thomas Whitmore appeared in the doorway, his 6-foot frame impeccably dressed in a tailored navy suit despite the scorching heat. His presence seemed to fill the room instantly, making the spacious kitchen feel suddenly smaller. Don't give Miss Rivera a hard time, princess, he said, his voice carrying that distinctive quality of men accustomed to being obeyed. He turned to Camila, his smile widening. She's not being difficult, is she? No, senor. Lily is never difficult, Camila replied, her Mexican accent softening her words. She kept her eyes focused on the vegetables, uncomfortable with the way his gaze lingered. Please, I've told you, call me Thomas. He moved closer, reaching past her for an apple from the fruit bowl. His arm brushed against hers. Not an accident, she was certain. How are you settling in? It's been, what, 3 weeks now? For weeks, Essie, Thomas, she corrected herself. Everything is good. The children are wonderful. And Rebecca? Is my wife being a good employer? There was something in his tone, amusement, perhaps, or sarcasm, that made Camila glance up. Mrs. Whitmore is very kind, she answered carefully. Thomas laughed, a sharp sound that didn't reach his eyes. That's diplomatic of you. Rebecca hasn't been kind to anyone in years. He bit into the apple, studying her. You're different from the other help we've had. College educated, aren't you? 2 years at Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico. Early childhood education, she replied, feeling the need to justify her presence in his kitchen. Smart and beautiful. A rare combination. His voice dropped lower. This visa situation of yours, still temporary, isn't it? Work permits can be so precarious. Camila's hands stilled momentarily before resuming their task. Yes. I am working with an immigration lawyer, but the process is complicated. Immigration lawyers charge a fortune for paperwork anyone could file. Thomas leaned against the counter, loosening his tie slightly. I know people in immigration. The right phone call from someone like me could smooth things over considerably. Before Camila could respond, 7-year-old Max trudged into the kitchen, his tablet clutched in his small hands. Dad, are you still taking me to soccer practice today? Thomas straightened, his demeanor shifting seamlessly. Of course, buddy. 4 o'clock sharp, right? As father and son discussed soccer techniques, Camila felt her shoulders gradually relax. She arranged the children's sandwiches on colorful plates, adding carrot sticks and apple slices, trying to ignore the unease that had settled in her stomach. Later that evening, after putting the children to bed, Camila padded quietly through the darkened house toward her room in the guest wing. The Whitmore residence was designed for showing off, massive white spaces, minimalist furniture, and artwork that probably cost more than what her entire family back in Mexico made in a decade. As she passed the partially open door to Thomas's home office, she heard his raised voice. Instinctively, she slowed her steps. That wasn't the agreement, Paul. Thomas was saying, anger edging his words. The auditors are coming next week, and those transactions need to disappear. I don't care how you do it, just make it happen. Camila held her breath, frozen in place. No, you listen to me, Thomas continued, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper that somehow carried in the silent house. If those numbers come to light, we're both finished. Remember who has more to lose here. Your name isn't on the building. There was a pause, then a harsh laugh. Threats? Really? We both know what happened to the last person who tried to threaten me. Do what needs to be done, or you'll regret it. The sound of a glass slamming onto a desk made Camila jump. Heart pounding, she hurried past the door as quietly as possible, not stopping until she reached her room. Inside, she leaned against the closed door, mind racing. What had she just heard? Was it simply aggressive business talk, or something more sinister? The mention of auditors, transactions disappearing, and that veiled reference to what happened to the last person, none of it sounded legal. Camila moved to the window, gazing out at the perfectly manicured lawn bathed in moonlight. The beautiful prison she had entered willingly, all for the chance at a better life. She thought of her mother and younger siblings back in Mexico City, depending on the money she sent home each month. She thought of her temporary visa, the constant fear of deportation, and Thomas's casual offer of help, with strings clearly attached. Through the window, she could see the pool house where Thomas now stood, illuminated by a single light, speaking intently with a man she'd never seen before. Their body language was tense, confrontational. As if sensing her gaze, Thomas suddenly looked up toward the main house. Toward her window, Camila quickly stepped back into the shadows, her heart hammering against her ribs. What had she gotten herself into? If you're captivated by Camila's story and want to see what happens next, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. New chapters are posted every Wednesday, and trust me, you won't want to miss what Camila discovers next in the Whitmore household. Subscribe now and join our community of story lovers. Chapter 2, Shadows and Whispers. The following days passed in a haze of routine and mounting anxiety. Camila moved through the mansion like a ghost, attending to the children, preparing meals. and doing her best to avoid being alone with Thomas. But in a house designed with so much open space and transparency, privacy was an illusion. Rebecca Whitmore had been absent for 3 days on what Thomas vaguely described as one of her retreats. Camila had learned from Lily that these retreats happened monthly, leaving the children in her care while their father worked late into the evenings. "Mommy says it's for her mental health," Lily had explained with the matter-of-fact tone children adopt when repeating adult phrases. "Daddy says it's because she's weak." On Thursday evening, a thunderstorm rolled in from the mountains, unusual for Scottsdale this time of year. Lightning illuminated the desert landscape in brief, electric flashes as rain lashed against the massive windows. Camila had just finished reading bedtime stories to the children when her phone vibrated with a text message, "Need you to bring the Macallan 25 to my study." Rebecca usually handles this. Camila stared at the message from Thomas, her stomach tightening. She considered pretending she hadn't seen it, but knew that would only delay the inevitable. Reluctantly, she made her way to the kitchen, found the expensive scotch in the liquor cabinet, and placed it on a silver tray with a crystal tumbler. The study door was ajar when she arrived, revealing Thomas seated behind his massive desk, jacket discarded, shirt sleeves rolled up to expose tanned forearms. He was speaking intently into his phone, but his eyes locked onto Camila the moment she appeared. "I have to go. We'll continue this tomorrow," he said abruptly, ending the call. "Come in, close the door behind you." Camila hesitated, then did as instructed, setting the tray on the desk with hands she forced to remain steady. "Perfect timing," Thomas said, pouring a generous measure of amber liquid into the glass. "Terrible night out there. Reminds me of that old saying about secrets and thunder." "I don't know that saying," Camila replied, already backing toward the door. "Secrets whispered during thunder can never be taken back." He smiled, sipping his scotch. "Probably made that up. Hard to tell these days, what's real and what isn't." His eyes narrowed slightly. "Speaking of Real, I've been meaning to ask you about Monday night." Camila felt her chest constrict. "Monday night? Don't play dumb, Camila. It doesn't suit you." Thomas's tone remained conversational, but his eyes had hardened. "I saw you by the window. Watching me. Did you happen to be watching earlier, too? Perhaps while passing my office?" The room suddenly felt airless. I was just going to my room. I didn't mean to eavesdrop." Thomas leaned forward, all pretense of casualness evaporating. "What exactly did you hear?" "Nothing, I swear. Just something about auditors, but I didn't understand. Let me make something very clear." Thomas stood, circling the desk until he was standing uncomfortably close to her. "What you may have overheard was a private business conversation. The kind that, taken out of context, could be misinterpreted." Camila took an instinctive step backward. "I understand. I would never, I hope so." Thomas's expression softened slightly, though his eyes remained cold. "Because I'd hate for there to be any complications. Especially regarding your immigration status." The threat hung in the air between them, clear and unmistakable. "My family depends on me," Camila said quietly, finding courage in the thought of her mother and siblings. "I just want to do my job and I want to help you, Camila." Thomas's voice turned silky. "In fact, I've already made some calls. My attorney believes we could sponsor you for a green card. Permanent residency. No more living in fear of deportation." Camila's breath caught. A green card would change everything for her and her family. "All I need is your discretion," Thomas continued. "Whatever you thought you heard, forget it. Whatever you see while working in this house, keep it to yourself. That's not so much to ask for legal status in America, is it? Before she could respond, the study door swung open. Rebecca Whitmore stood in the doorway, rain-soaked and disheveled, her normally perfect blonde hair plastered to her head, mascara running down her cheeks. Having a cozy chat with the help, Thomas? Her words slurred slightly, her glassy eyes suggesting she'd been drinking. Rebecca. Thomas's entire demeanor changed, irritation flashing across his face. You're home early. Clearly. She spat, her gaze shifting to Camila. Sorry to interrupt whatever this is. Mrs. Whitmore, I was just bringing, save it. Rebecca cut her off with a dismissive wave. I know exactly what you were bringing him. She turned back to Thomas, swaying slightly. Where are the children? Asleep. Where they should be at this hour, Thomas replied coldly. Perhaps you should follow their example. You look terrible. Rebecca laughed, a brittle sound. Always the charmer. No wonder they all fall for it. She glanced at Camila. Run along now. He's done with you for tonight. Camila fled the room. Cheeks burning with humiliation, but not before catching the murderous look Thomas shot his wife. She retreated to her room, heart pounding, mind racing with impossible choices. Later that night, unable to sleep, Camila crept downstairs for a glass of water. The storm had passed, leaving the house in eerie silence. As she approached the kitchen, hushed voices stopped her in her tracks. Can't keep doing this, Thomas. Rebecca's voice, surprisingly sober now. The board is asking questions. Janet called me today. Janet should mind her own business, Thomas hissed. Everything is under control. Like Melissa was under control? Rebecca's voice cracked. God, do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I don't know what really happened to her? Be very careful what you're implying. Thomas's voice had dropped to that dangerous whisper Camila had heard before. Or what? You'll arrange another accident? Make another person disappear? The sound of a slap echoed through the silent house, followed by Rebecca's muffled sob. That mouth of yours will be your undoing, Thomas said, his voice eerily calm. Go to bed, Rebecca. We'll discuss this when you're sober. Footsteps approached the doorway where Camila stood frozen in shock. Panicking, she slipped into the adjacent dining room, pressing herself against the wall in the darkness. Thomas stormed past, not noticing her presence. Moments later, she heard the front door open and close, followed by the sound of his car. Starting and driving away, Camila waited, heart hammering, before cautiously making her way back toward the kitchen. She found Rebecca seated at the island, pressing an ice pack to her cheek, staring into nothing. Mrs. Whitmore? Camila ventured softly. Are you okay? Rebecca's head snapped up, fear flashing across her face before recognition set in. How much? Did you hear? Enough, Camila admitted. Who is Melissa? Rebecca studied her for a long moment, then sighed deeply. Thomas's former executive assistant. Officially, she died in a hiking accident last year. Fell from a cliff while taking photos. She removed the ice pack, revealing an angry red mark blooming on her pale cheek. Unofficially? She discovered the same thing I did about Thomas's business practices. The difference is, she threatened to go public. And you think Camila couldn't finish the sentence. I don't think, I know. Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. I found evidence. Emails. Deleted, but recoverable. He arranged it all, made it look like an accident. We should go to the police, Camila whispered. Rebecca laughed bitterly. With what? My word against his? Thomas owns half this town, including the police chief. He's already convinced everyone I'm an unstable alcoholic. She fixed Camila with a desperate look. But he doesn't control you yet. You could help me. How? The evidence is in his private server. I need someone who can access his office while he's distracted. Rebecca reached for Camila's hand. Help me, and I promise I'll make sure you and your family are protected. Camila pulled her hand away, mind reeling. I can't. My visa, my family, he's offered to help you with that, hasn't he? Rebecca's eyes narrowed knowingly. That's his favorite tactic with immigrants. Dangling legal status like a carrot, then using it to ensure silence. The truth of Rebecca's words hit Camila like a physical blow. She thought of Thomas's veiled threats, his inappropriate comments, the way his hands sometimes lingered too long on her shoulder. She thought of her siblings back home, dreaming of joining her in America someday. I need time to think, Camila finally said. Rebecca nodded, suddenly looking exhausted. Don't take too long. And Camila? Be careful. Thomas always knows more than you think he does. Chapter 3, The Price of Silence. Saturday arrived with another scorching Arizona day, the temperature already climbing past 90 degrees by 9 in the morning. Camila supervised the children in the pool, her mind elsewhere as Max and Lily splashed and laughed, blissfully unaware of the tension permeating their perfect home. Thomas had been notably absent since Thursday night, communicating only through brief texts about the children's schedules. Rebecca had locked herself in the master suite, emerging only to take pills that Camila suspected weren't just for her claimed migraines. Miss Camila, watch this. Max called, executing a cannonball that sent water cascading over the pool's edge. Camila forced a smile, clapping appropriately while her thoughts raced. For 48 hours, she had been weighing impossible options. Help Rebecca and potentially expose a murderer, risking her own deportation in the process. Or accept Thomas's offer of legal status in exchange for her silence, potentially enabling him to harm others, perhaps even Rebecca herself. The sound of tires on gravel pulled her attention toward the circular driveway. Thomas's black Range Rover glided to a stop in front of the house, followed by a silver Mercedes she didn't recognize. Thomas emerged from his vehicle, exchanging a brief handshake with a silver-haired man in an expensive suit who stepped out of the Mercedes. Children, Camila called, time to get out and dry off. Your father is home with a guest. But we just got in. Lily protested. No arguments, please. You can swim again later. Camila's tone left no room for discussion as she held out fluffy towels for them. As they reluctantly climbed out of the pool, Thomas approached with his companion. There they are. My little fish, Thomas called jovially, his entire demeanor transformed from the menacing figure of Thursday night. He turned to the silver-haired man. Senator, these are my children, Max and Lily. And this is their nanny, Camila Rivera. The man smiled warmly. Senator James Harrington. Pleasure to meet you all. Camila nodded politely, acutely aware of Thomas's calculating gaze fixed on her. Camila, would you get the children changed and then bring some refreshments to the patio? The senator and I have some business to discuss. Of course, Senor. Camila deliberately used the formal address. Noting the flicker of irritation that crossed Thomas's face. 30 minutes later, after settling the children with a movie in the media room, Camila brought a tray of iced tea and finger sandwiches to the patio where Thomas and the senator were engaged in intense conversation. Absolutely need your vote on this bill, James, Thomas was saying. The regulatory implications would destroy our entire sector. You know I support free enterprise, Thomas, but there are some concerning reports about environmental impacts, all propaganda from our competitors, Thomas interjected smoothly. May I remind you of your campaign financing for the next cycle? My associates are extremely interested in continuing our mutually beneficial relationship. The senator's expression hardened slightly. Are you threatening me, Thomas? Threatening? Never. Thomas laughed easily. Simply reminding you of our aligned interests. Camilla placed the tray on the table between them, careful to avoid eye contact with either man. Thank you, Camilla, Thomas said, his tone shifting to something warmer, performed for his guest. The senator and I will be fine now. As she turned to leave, Thomas caught her wrist, his grip just tight enough to make her freeze. Actually, before you go, has my wife emerged from her rest? No, Senor. Mrs. Whitmore asked not to be disturbed. Typical, Thomas muttered, releasing her wrist. To the senator, he added, Rebecca suffers from anxiety. The medication makes her unpredictable. The senator nodded sympathetically while Camilla retreated, feeling Thomas's eyes boring into her back that evening after the senator had departed. And the children were asleep. Thomas summoned Camilla to his study once again. This time, he was waiting with a folder on his desk. Close the door, he instructed as she entered hesitantly. Camilla did so, remaining near the exit, her body tense with apprehension. I've been speaking with my attorney, Thomas began, opening the folder. About your situation. Green card applications typically take years, but with the right connections. He slid a document toward her. This is preliminary paperwork for an EB-1 visa. Extraordinary ability category. Much faster path to permanent residency. Camilla approached cautiously, scanning the document. It appeared legitimate, a potential lifeline for her and, eventually, her family. Why would you do this for me? She asked, though she already knew the answer. Thomas leaned back in his chair, studying her. Let's call it an investment in loyalty. I value discretion in my household staff. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Speaking of which, I noticed you and Rebecca having a rather intimate conversation Thursday night. Camilla's blood ran cold. She was upset. I was just being kind, Thomas finished for her. One of your many admirable qualities. What did my wife tell you, exactly? Nothing important, Camilla lied, her mouth dry. She was emotional, talking about needing a break from everything. Thomas's expression remained pleasant, but his eyes hardened. Rebecca has a tendency to invent things when she's mixing alcohol with her medications. Fantastical stories. Paranoid accusations. He tapped the visa application. I'd hate for her delusions to impact your future in this country. The threat was unmistakable. Camilla stared at the document, thinking of her mother who had sacrificed everything to send her to America, of her siblings who dreamed of joining her someday. I understand, she said quietly. Excellent. Thomas closed the folder. I'll need your passport and birth certificate to proceed. And Camilla? His voice dropped to that dangerous whisper. If Rebecca approaches you again with her stories, I expect to be informed immediately. Camilla nodded mutely, her mind racing. As she turned to leave, Thomas added, one more thing. I'm hosting an important dinner party tomorrow night. Several board members and investors will be here. I need everything to be perfect. Can I count on you? Yes, Senor. And Rebecca will be joining us. She'll be feeling better by then. Something in his tone sent a chill down Camila's spine. Back in her room, Camila sat on the edge of her bed, trembling. The choice before her was impossible. Accept Thomas's offer, securing her future while potentially enabling a murderer. Or help Rebecca expose him, risking everything she had worked for. Her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. He's going to silence me next. Evidence in his safe. Office. Code 7314. Help me. Please. Camila stared at the message, realizing it had to be from Rebecca. How had she gotten her number? It didn't matter. What mattered was the decision she now faced. With shaking hands, she pulled out her worn leather journal and began to write. If something happened to her, at least the truth would survive, dear Mama, if you are reading this, something has gone wrong. The family I work for is not what they seemed. She detailed everything she had learned and suspected about Thomas Whitmore, about Melissa's accident, and about Rebecca's fear. When she finished, she sealed the letter in an envelope, addressed it to her mother in Mexico City, and placed it in her purse to mail the next day. The dinner party was set to begin at 7 the following evening. By 6, the caterers were bustling through the kitchen, and Camila had helped Rebecca prepare, noting with alarm the glazed look in the woman's eyes and her mechanical movements. He gave you something, didn't he? Camila whispered as she helped Rebecca with her necklace. Rebecca's eyes briefly focused. Just enough to keep me compliant. Not enough to keep me silent. She gripped Camila's hand with surprising strength. The safe. Tonight. It's our only chance. At 8:30 p.m., while Thomas was entertaining his 12 guests in the dining room, Camila slipped into his study under the pretense of retrieving a bottle of wine from his private collection. Her hands trembled as she approached the painting behind his desk, a stark, modernist piece that concealed the wall safe. The code, 7314, worked on the first try. Inside, she found exactly what Rebecca had described, a USB drive, labeled simply insurance. Without hesitation, Camila pocketed it, replaced the painting, and returned to the dinner party with the requested wine. Throughout the remainder of the evening, Thomas kept shooting her suspicious glances, as if sensing something had shifted. When the last guest departed shortly after midnight, he cornered her in the kitchen. "You've been quiet tonight," he observed, loosening his tie. "Second thoughts about our arrangement?" Camila steeled herself, meeting his gaze directly. "No, Senor. I'm grateful for your help." Thomas studied her face, searching for deception. "Good. Because I've already started the process. By this time next month, your immigration concerns could be a thing of the past." He stepped closer, invading her personal space. "A small price to pay for loyalty, wouldn't you agree?" "Yes," Camila replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "A small price." 3 days later, Detective Elena Ramirez of the Scottsdale Police Department sat across from Camila in a small interview room, reviewing the contents of the USB drive. Spreadsheets documenting years of fraudulent transactions. Emails discussing the handling of Melissa Dawson's problem. Voice recordings of Thomas threatening multiple people. And most damning of all, a video from Thomas's own security system showing him arguing with Melissa the day before her accident, explicitly threatening her life if she went public with what she knew. "This is substantial," Detective Ramirez said, closing the laptop. "You understand the risks you've taken? Mr. Whitmore is a powerful man with connections throughout Arizona." Camila nodded, thinking of the green card application now sitting abandoned on Thomas's desk. "Some prices are too high to pay. Even for the American dream. You'll need protection," Ramirez continued. And your immigration status, I know, Camila interrupted softly. I could be deported. The detective shook her head. Actually, there's a special visa for witnesses who help law enforcement. U visa. It's designed exactly for situations like yours. For the first time in weeks, Camila felt a glimmer of hope. 1 month later, Camila sat in a modest apartment in Phoenix, watching the news with Rebecca and the children. Thomas's arrest had made national headlines, and the case against him was growing stronger by the day as more victims came forward. Rebecca, now in recovery and fighting for custody of her children, had offered Camila a place to stay while she testified and rebuilt her life. In breaking news, tech CEO Thomas Whitmore has been denied bail for the third time as prosecutors add murder charges to the growing list of allegations against the disgraced executive, the news anchor announced. Sources close to the investigation credit a former household employee's courage in bringing crucial evidence to light. Rebecca muted the television, turning to Camila. You gave up everything you were working for. Camila shook her head, watching Lily and Max playing contentedly on the floor, finally free from the suffocating tension of their former home. Not everything. Just the things that would have cost too much. Her phone chimed with a message from her mother. The lawyer called. Your siblings' visa applications are being processed. We might be together by Christmas, Camila smiled, feeling tears of relief sting her eyes. Some dreams were worth waiting for, the ones you didn't have to compromise your soul to achieve. Outside, the Arizona sunset painted the sky in brilliant shades of orange and purple, a fitting backdrop to the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. The path ahead would not be easy, but for the first time since arriving in America, Camila Rivera was walking it with her head held high. Her conscience clear, and her future truly her own. If this story of courage in the face of impossible choices resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button now. Our channel brings you powerful stories of moral triumph and authentic human experiences every week. Join our community of over 100,000 subscribers who love emotionally charged narratives that remind us what it truly means to stand up for what's right. Subscribe today and never miss another powerful story.